My high five!
Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome in everyone to another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. I'm your host, Adan Diaz, and joining me to my right is my co-host, Johnny at Broncos Viking. Baki, my friend, how are you today?
What's up, buddy? I'm doing good, man. Let's see. I've had a fun Tuesday. It's my day off.
Mm-hmm.
So this morning, earlier today, I went with my family. Well, my oldest started his first day of first grade today, so I'm proud of him. And while he was at school, me and the rest of the family, we went to my favorite German restaurant, and I pigged out on some schnitzel and drank a ton of Dunkel German beer, and I'm talking like 2 liters. It was awesome.
That's great.
And I enjoyed myself thoroughly. They even have these new things, Reuben rolls. It's like a Reuben sandwich, but in an egg roll. And then you dip it in the Thousand Island. Oh my God, it is so on fire, dude. I can't. I'm gonna learn how to make it because I have to have it in my life all the time. So how about you? How are you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking, Johnny. Now, guys, you may have noticed that Rich is not with us tonight. He has another affair. He is trying to.
Let's reword that. Let's rephrase that. No, I'm just kidding.
He does have something going on today. I believe he told us it is his daughter's birthday. So he's trying to see if he can join us later on today. But there's a good chance, or slight chance, I should say, that he might not. So bear with us. But either way, Rich is always here with us in spirit, just like I was in here last week.
He's right here in my heart, brother. Oh, he's right here, man.
And Rich and Johnny and, of course, our good friend Glenn Hauser did a fantastic job carrying throughout the show. But, guys, before we get to today's news, let me just go over a couple of things with you. Just want to remind you guys that we are a fan-led, Broncos-based podcast filling you in on all things NFL news, but more importantly, Broncos news. We go live every single Tuesday at 7654 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Guys, we are on a quest for 1,000. If you look right over on top,
that's right.
I got to get used to that. I'm working on it, I swear.
Oh, I love catching people off guard. It's fun.
If you look over my co-host Johnny's head, there is a hashtag quest for 1,000, guys. If you have ever wondered how to support a growing channel, the absolute best way to do that is to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, comment, and share. The more interaction we get on the pods, the more eyes they get in front of other people so they can come in and watch and join us just like you guys are. So, and if that wasn't enough initiative, Glenn Hauser has said that once we hit that 1,000 subs, just as a reminder, we say this every single show, Johnny, he will do the next podcast wearing the Barrel Man Barrel.
Oh, God, I want to see that. I want to see it so bad. Like, I'm so jealous. Glenn, I want you to know this. I know you're either watching now or later. I am so jealous that you even have that thing. Like, I would just, like, pay for 5 minutes just to wear it. Just once. Just once. Yeah, you know? I mean, I used to watch the guy. I used to watch the guy. Like, I went to over 40 games in my life with my grandfather. I used to watch the Barrel Man down there in the South Stands, just getting it on, just getting busy in that Barrel Man. He was so cool.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I think Glenn is waxing that thing almost at least once a week, getting it ready to show off.
We're still talking about the Barrel.
The Barrel, right? Yes, the Barrel. Okay. So make sure you guys.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You know. So guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share so that you can get to know when we go live anytime we post any amazing content on our pages, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are here. And speaking of we are here, Johnny, let's go around and say hi to some of our good folks that are already in the room. Shadow Jasper.
Yes, let's.
Who was here before me and you were even live while we were hanging around backstage.
That's our boy Shadow, though. You know,
yeah.
Me too, brother.
He says, hello, Broncos country. Hello to you, Shadow. Gary Neighbor says, go Broncos. Saludos to Gary. EJ says, what's up, Broncos country? EJ, thank you so much, my friend. My High Prophet with a wonderful reminder, guys, that tonight is Broncos Talk. Tomorrow, Canton.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about that.
Yes, we are. Our good friend Mohammed Badri saying greetings to everybody in the ring.
Bad.
I don't know why I said ring. I meant to say room. I said ring.
It's all right. We forgive you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Travis Tarbox saying, hello, fellas. Denver Broncos for life. Hello to you, Travis. Dave
That's right.
Glassman saying, sup, Travis, and sup to myself and Johnny. Lonnie Dugan, a name I have
Ah,
not heard before.
all right. So quick thing. Lonnie
Mhm.
Dugan is one of my Army battle buddies who recently moved into my home to help because he's making a transition in his life.
Mhm.
And so he's a Cowboys fan. But because he grew up near Dallas.
Mhm.
But slowly but surely he's sleeping here in this man cave at night. So I think between being exposed to me on a daily basis, osmosis, being around and exposed to all this orange and blue and Broncos logos while he's asleep, I think I'm going to get him converted soon.
Hey, one step at a time. But Lonnie, so good to have you in the chat, my friend. Just sit back, have a drink, have something to eat, and enjoy the show. And Johnny, before we get into jumping into today's it's not really so much questions, but today's show, guys, if you're watching us live, hit us up with some comments or questions. If you guys want to jump in, feel free. Johnny and I are going to try to answer in every single comment or question we get while we're on the air. If you're listening to us after the fact, feel free to tweet us at MHRT Podcast, myself at 6'10" Mexican, or at Broncos Viking if you have a direct question, and we will try to answer them for the next show.
I won't beg for comments, but please talk to us. No, I'm just kidding.
Háblanos.
I have no idea what you said, but yes, that.
Basically what you said, just in one word.
Okay.
All right, so Johnny.
Yo.
Today was the very first padded practice. And when I see those two words, padded practice, to me, it kind of reminds me, if you watch another sports, kind of like watching a basketball player put on his really fancy sneakers, a baseball player, cleaning his very favorite bat, hockey player, waxing or cleaning his hockey stick.
Skates. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because it's a nice reminder that we are so close.
Yeah, this close. So pads makes a difference, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had 5 days before this. This is day 6 of actual training camp, but we've had 5 days before this of practice. But they've been in shorts and just jerseys and stuff. And I believe really right now all the pads are shells, but that's okay because like wearing pads completely changes the dynamic of how you play. You can't move exactly the same. You can't turn exactly the same when you're wearing pads as you can when you're without. Mm-hmm. So when you put those on, it's one step closer to being like, so this is what real football is going to be like. And it's exciting. Usually the first day with pads is a little rusty. Like there's more mistakes get made or coverages get blown or missed, or quarterback misses a read, more because he's wearing those shells and he's got to turn. I like that. EJ says, oh, wrong one, real quick. EJ says wearing pads separates the men from the girls. Careful, EJ. This is a different world we live in now, buddy.
Agreed.
But I think that it sets it apart from what it's been, and it gets us closer. It truly does, like you said, get us one step closer to what we can expect from the actual season.
Mm-hmm. Now, so. I will say one thing, Johnny, and to our audience. One thing that I was watching, I saw most of today's practice during the live stream. Unfortunately, I was working, so I didn't see it as it happened, but I was watching the recap on my way home. And one thing that I heard Terrell Davis and Steve Atwater talk about was how when they were playing in the late 90s, they had to wear pads every single time during training camp or preseason or what have you. It wasn't designated like it was now, where it's like, okay, you guys start off with just jerseys and then you move up to full padded pen.
But it was a different world back then. I mean, like you heard Rod Smith when he was guesting on Training Camp Live with Steve Atwater. Mm-hmm. He mentioned that they took hits in camp.
Oh yeah.
Like like he literally said, I remember this one time when Steve hit me so hard, and I was like, really, man, really? Like they took hits in camp. Things were different back then, man. And football has changed, in so many ways, and in a lot of ways, it's ways I don't like. I'm going to be honest, but I don't get a say. I'm not the commissioner. I mean,
well, you know what? And if I can comment on that, Johnny, you're totally right. Today's football is nothing like yesteryears.
no.
But I believe that it kind of had to, because back then you didn't really have teams spending so much money on certain players, and the
True.
one thing that any single, whether it's a coach or a fan, you don't want to hear is your favorite player getting injured, because as a fan that sucks, as a team owner that sucks, as part of the coaching staff that sucks, because especially if it's a high level player that you're paying a lot of money to, get hurt, and it could be something over so trivial as something that happened at practice, or knock on wood, what happened to Von Miller last year.
I don't have any around me.
Just
I'm going to settle. Head. Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
So I believe that the league itself kind of took extra measures to kind of protect their investment.
Yeah.
And team owners as well.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, you got to think, like, as far as from a business standpoint, you look at other businesses and what they sell or what they deal in, right? Football is a business, but their commodities are their players.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just used the word, those players and their contracts are truly an investment for these organizations. those investments get hurt. Those investments get, knocked out for a time. You're not getting the full return on your investment.
Mm-hmm.
And the businessmen don't want that. If they're going to be paying this guy, I don't want to bring up Jawan James again, but if we're going to be paying this guy this much money, he better be on the field, making that money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I can see it. I wish football, we could go back to the brawling days when it's just, oh man, when the Steve Atwater hits, you know what I mean? Like, I wish you could still see, safeties hit guys like Steve Atwater hit people and things like that. But it's a new world, and it's the one we live in, and I still love my Broncos regardless, right? So
right. We got our first question here, Johnny, and it's from our good friend Shadowjacker, who asks, who should be the next Bronco to be the inductee, or inducted, I think he's meant to say, into the Hall of Fame?
Well, no, inductee works in the way he phrased that question.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a real, because let's see. I mean, are we talking? I mean, if we're talking current players, obviously they have to first retire and then have to wait 5 years before they can be inducted.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking a current player on the field, Von Miller, no questions asked.
Right. I'm actually gonna go with Mile High Prophet, and he said Mecklenburg, and I agree. I think Carl
the
Mecklenburg,
albino rhino.
I love watching his
or Randy Gradishar. I could
or
see.
Grandishar. I'll take that too. But I
yeah,
that's my pick.
Me, I talk about him every time because he still remains my favorite player on the Broncos of all time, and that's Rod Smith. I think to come into the league the way he did, as an undrafted free agent in the same season as Michael Irvin was drafted in the first round, and almost completely mirror his stats until the time they both retired, is unheard of. And he deserves, and he's oft forgotten by the NFL community, not the Broncos. Broncos fans, we remember Rod Smith. He's the number one receiver in franchise history, but in the NFL as a whole, he's often forgotten, and I think I absolutely think Rod Smith deserves Hall of Fame status. So, Mile High Prophet. So I hope that answers your question there, Jacker. So let's see. Mile High Prophet bringing up one of the most interesting observations he had from camp this morning was this. Not sure if it was in the design screen or what, but there was a blitz from the right side, Drew under center. He picked up the blitz very quickly and just gently lofted a pass over the blitz to a receiver on the right side. Couldn't tell from my perspective on the berm ultimately how successful the play was, but he certainly avoided the sack and showed a great deal of finesse in the touch of the pass. I love hearing that because, regardless, I feel like whether it was a planned screen or it was his check down, I believe it shows progress for Drew Lock. because last season he would have either held, or the way things were going last season, if we're going off history, a play like that, a moment like that, he more than likely he would have held on to the ball just a little too long, trying to catch another read and take a sack or fumble the ball. It happened. I think it happened once or twice last season, didn't it?
Yeah.
There's that. Or he would have gone up for the throw and pray, and and it would have gotten intercepted or something like that. So I agree. I think that I think that it shows progress. Does it mean he's the guy yet? No. But I believe that Broncos country, except for the ones that just truly, truly hate the guy, that like for whatever reason, I don't know if he, if I don't know what he did to some of these people, but some people just truly he's the devil to some people. And except for those people, it's good to see some progression, in my opinion. Some progress.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm just going to say this, guys, and this is something that we as fans have to remember. If you're able to see what Mahi Prophet saw, that's one thing. But we also have to kind of be careful as to what we read from the media, because there's a lot of stuff that we as viewers, we don't see. And then we kind of try to go based off of what we see from the actual reporters and analysts and what have you that are actually at training camp. So, and what I mean by that is just that, kind of like how Teddy Bridgewater had a really crappy game a couple days ago, where he threw 3 interceptions, and Drew Lock.
Well, not game, but practice, but still.
Yeah. So, and it's like people are already like, okay, well, Bridgewater's out, Drew Lock's in. So it's jump into assumptions, and it shouldn't be like that.
Look, we're like it or not, and even though we aren't, we're still working our way up. We're media in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. It is really hard to stay unbiased.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what our position is in the media or whoever's reporting it, they have their preferences. They have who they like. They have what they like, because they're human beings. So even media members are gonna push towards their own bias, and even if it's subtle, it's there. And you see that now. Right as of today, every report that I've seen so far, Twitter, scrolling through Twitter, and what few articles have been written already about today's camp, today's day, day 6 of camp, is that kind of Teddy and Locke were neck and neck today. There wasn't a clear, from what I can tell, it didn't seem like there was a clear winner of the quarterback competition for day 6. Mm-hmm. Now, Locke won day 1, Teddy won day 2 by a long shot. Locke then won day 3 by a narrow margin. He won day 4, and then I think Teddy won day 4, maybe. I don't remember. From what I can tell, it looks like Locke is still ahead by a narrow margin as far as days go. But again, we're not the coach. I mean, all these wins, losses. This is the media. These are the people that are out there going, well, Locke was clearly the winner today. And we're reading that and going, yeah, Locke or no, and that's fine. But we're not the coach. He has what he wants. Mm-hmm. He is looking for something specific, and we're not going to know who's going to win it. I guarantee we're not going to know till like right before the first regular season game who the starter is.
Right. EJ makes an interesting point here, Johnny. He says preseason will determine our starter, whether Teddy or Locke is QB1. Now, yeah. Up until an hour ago, EJ, I'll be honest with you, I would have agreed with you. But they did interview Pat Shurmur during that live stream, and Pat Shurmur was asked if there was a chance that a starting quarterback could be picked before the end of preseason and before roster cuts. And pretty much Shurmur kind of said, if I remember correctly, that he hopes to have a chosen quarterback, so that way they can kind of start, prepping him and grooming him for getting ready for the season, instead of waiting until the end of preseason and say, okay, you're going to be the guy, and here's what you need to learn and do by by week 1.
It's what you'd hope for, but is it? But I mean, do we think it's going to happen? Because I mean, it's going to have, if for that to happen, someone in the next 4, what is it, 4 or 5 practices. The next 5 practices is going to have to like pull away. And I mean, like, not win by, horse racing terms, not win by a nose. We're talking, he's got to win by a mile.
Yeah.
in order to be named that, especially that that early in preseason. He's going to have to pull away and win by a mile in training camp. And thus far, each time, except for a few here and there, it seems like the two of them are pretty well just staying neck and neck down the stretch up to this point. So I as much as Pat Shurmur, he's also trying to not to tip his hand either. Right. The media is going to ask these questions. He's got to give them an answer, but he's not necessarily going to give the most, trying to think. I'm not just going to say he's dishonest, but I think he's going to beat around the bush a little bit because he doesn't want the league to know what he's thinking. He doesn't want the league to know what Vic Fangio is thinking. He doesn't want anybody to know what George Payton is thinking. So, ultimately what he's saying could just be posturing. It could be blowing smoke, proverbially blowing smoke. So again, we'll see. So, let's see. Ultimately, my hypothesis is if the QB competition is a tie, you have to go with Locke. He has more upside. Case closed. And you're not wrong. He's, look at the upside of Drew Lock, right? If he succeeds, he's homegrown, which the Broncos have never had a homegrown franchise quarterback ever. Right. They always came from somewhere else. So if the upside on that, if he succeeds, he's a homegrown quarterback right here in Denver. Well, I'm in Tennessee, but you get my meaning.
I'm in Chicago.
That's right. If it's it's Broncos country, no matter what. Okay. If I'm standing on it, it's Broncos country. So, but no, there's that upside, right? 1, 2, he's cheaper right now. He can see if he can succeed, we're paying much, much less for, and he eventually, down the road, if he is the man, he'll garner that money. But right now we have that. And, and that saves us from having to go forward and draft another quarterback later. So there is so much upside on Drew to succeed. So yes, I agree absolutely. If it's a tie goes to Locke. So
no, I agree with that too. So Johnny, but in terms of Denver, just trying to continue to find their homegrown quarterback. I really do hope that Drew Lock can show that initiative, and basically everything that he stated from the end of last season to now, we are starting to see, flashes of it, like Mahai Prophet said in his commentary. So that's good.
Well, we've seen flashes. We have seen flashes from him for 2 years now. Yeah. But what we're looking for is for those flashes to become consistency. Yeah. And we've seen some progress. We've seen progress. Progress. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I haven't done it in a while. I used to shout progress every time I hear it. Like I have Tourette's syndrome or something. So I had to do it. But, well, that's ultimately what it comes down to is can he turn the flashes into consistency? Because if he can, I believe maybe not top 10, but top 15 wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility if he can turn those big moments into something that happens often or more often and all, as much as possible.
So no, I totally agree. And you know what? And kind of, steering away a little bit from the Cole quarterback controversy. Well, not controversy, but race competition. Thank you. Another interesting comment that I heard Atwater and Terrell Davis talking about was basically the nutrition that these guys are going through in camp. And what I mean by that is basically they were saying that when they were in training camp, they didn't have like these fancy nutritionists and they didn't have all this stuff. He said Terrell Davis was like, he's like, bro, I was literally just eating stuff from McDonald's, or sending,
going to Wendy's,
Wendy's, or they would send guys to just go get junk food and then just bring it in, and that's all they had to eat. And he even mentioned about a story that he had with a conversation he had with Shannon Sharp, where Sharp saw him eating McDonald's, and he says, "Hey, bro, if you're gonna play on this team, you can't eat that. Like it's not going to settle right with you." And Terrell Davis like, "Man, I'm young. I have a high metabolism. I'll be all right." And Terrell Davis swears that every single time he had a burger or something, he couldn't really play because that food was just in his stomach. So,
that stuff
weighs you down.
sticks in your gut, man.
Yeah. So he was like, fast forward to today, you got guys that when they go in there, they have a smoothie machine, they have a carb station, they have a protein station, they have they have all these guys that they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, I imagine, to kind of keep them on track. Like, hey, don't eat this.
We haven't got to see it, but I'm sure there's a masseuse walking around, not Dr. Mario, but I'm sure there's a masseuse, while they're sitting there eating their lettuce wrap. He's standing there. Woosah.
Be one with the
be one with you. Yeah, be one with your lettuce wrap.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another great point that they made talking about that, and I totally agree. Yeah. And and basically, when you want to be at your best, at your peak athleticism, you kind of have to make those sacrifices. It's been known that Russell Wilson pays what I read, almost $1 million, I think, maybe just over that a year. And he has like his own private chef and
to cook him the
fitness team or whatever
that he needs to stay fit. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, not everybody makes Russell Wilson money in the league, but those that can afford it.
I want to make Russell Wilson money, but but you know what? I would settle for I would settle for practice squad money at this point. So Mile High Prophet jumps in saying Canton will be Broncos country this week. Who's with me?
We are, baby.
And Shadow Jacker says Canton. Woohoo! That's right. I'm loud. It's what I do. It's just me.
I love it, man.
It's just me. I'm a
no
megaphone.
Complaints from me.
But no, I mean, let's talk Canton for a minute. Let's we can get back on to training camp, but let's talk about Canton because this is huge. COVID-19 just wrecked everything last year, right? Steve Atwater, the great Steve Atwater, finally gets his nod to put on his gold jacket, and what happens? He can't give his speech. He can't go put on his gold jacket. So he has been, so the poor guy's been waiting for 2 years to finally, well, I mean, a lot longer than that, but since he's been named now, 2 years to put that gold jacket on, and there he is so deserving of that jacket, man. He deserves to get up there on that podium and give some speeches. And speaking of, there's going to be so freaking many speeches. I mean, 2 years worth of Hall of Fame speeches. That's eight players a year, right? So 16, and each one gives like 5 to 7 minute speeches. Woo, that's going to take a while. But I mean, John Lynch is not going in as a Bronco, but it doesn't matter. He played for the Broncos. And I mean, some of my favorite play memories John Lynch was a part of. So there are 3 members of the Broncos organization going into the Hall of Fame this week. How freaking cool is that?
It's awesome. And you know what? Going back to what you said about the speeches, like, to be honest with you, I always love hearing what these guys have to say, even if they're not Broncos, because giving them 5 to 7 minutes to talk about their entire career and everything that they've had to endure and what they've had to just kind of go through, the ups, the downs.
Sorry, my beer attacked me.
You're fine. I mean, I'm really excited to hear what Peyton Manning has to say, because the last time I saw Peyton Manning speak as a Bronco, I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one with a broken heart, and that was when he announced his retirement. So I really want to see Peyton talk as a Bronco and not so much as an Indianapolis Colt.
Well, I mean, he's not. I mean, he retired a Bronco, and I can't even say how epic it is that he did. If I recall, when Peyton retired, he the Colts approached him. They're like, "You want to sign a 1-day tender so that you can retire a Colt?" And he's like, "Heck no, I'm retiring a Bronco." And I'm just like, "That's right," because all Colts grow up to be Broncos. But it's exciting. It's exciting, and Prophet brings it up here, and he's right. 2020 class ceremony is on Saturday. 2021 is on Sunday. So, I mean, we don't have to watch 16 speeches in one day, which is great, but it still means over a 2-day period, that's a lot of speeches, And like you said, even if they weren't Broncos players, we're football fans. even outside of the Broncos. Granted, I mean, I pretty much wear my orange lenses all the time, but I love football. And I think one of my favorite Hall of Fame speeches of all time was T.O. Like T.O. had, his speech was he tugged at the heartstrings, man. Like, So, I mean, yeah, it's exciting. Three members of Broncos country are going into the Hall of Fame this week. And they're so deserving. They're so deserving. Steve Atwater is finally getting his just desserts. Finally. He's deserved it for a lot longer.
Agreed.
Peyton first ballot, and there was never even a question that Peyton Manning would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And John Lynch, I mean, again, nobody, he is so deserving of this honor. And, even if he didn't spend the entirety of his career in Denver, even if he didn't start out in Denver and didn't end in Denver, he was a Bronco. And therefore, I believe on Saturday's training camp practice, when they raised the new Hall of Fame flags at their new little Hall of Fame flags display, I believe they did raise one for John Lynch.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I did remember reading something.
That's pretty awesome. All right. So, what is that? Yeah, there you go. So Mile High Prophet, you don't go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame from a team like MLB. I know that, Prophet. I'm just talking about the fact that, like, when Peyton Manning retired, he chose to retire as a Denver Bronco. He did not, he didn't go back to the Colts for a day to leave them with them. He walked out the door, marched off. The sheriff marched off into the sunset. Shane, come back, Shane. As a Denver Bronco, and that's what I'm talking about, really. So that's pretty awesome. And the boss man's finally in the house. I've been wondering where he's been all show. He says hi.
And watching from the sidelines
with a wave. And Mile High Prophet did confirm it. Yeah, there's a Lynch flag, which is awesome. Which is awesome because he deserves it. He deserves
it. I totally agree.
So I can't wait to see this, to see the festivities from Canton this week. I wish I could go. I'm Prophet, you're killing me here. You're at training camp and then you're going to Canton. I mean, come on, man, you're killing me. So
that's the luck of the draw.
That is the luck of the draw.
But
all right, so let's get back to training camp.
You know what? I did see some highlights, and it's something that you and I were talking a little bit before the show here, Johnny, and that was about our good friend Jerry Jeudy. I mean, the man was just breaking ankles left and right.
If you haven't seen it, it's on. Somebody put it on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it, but I swear I got to find it, and I'll if I can find it, I will retweet it because I didn't have time earlier when I saw it. But there was just this one clip of Jerry Jeudy versus Pat Surtain, PS2, and he pulled this stop and go. Like Jerry Jeudy ran out, did a stop, and then just like it reaccelerated. And I have not seen that kind of stop and go, like speed, just explosiveness. I don't know how long, because even Patrick Surtain, who right now is being touted as possibly the future, like even going into this season, the best cornerback on this roster. And he almost ate dirt trying to read that. You know what I mean? Like it was phenomenal.
Agreed.
And, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was a great play. I mean, just watching him, and Patrick Surtain, guys, is kind of being mentioned in training camp so far. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife, where he's not just good in one position. You can put him in the slot. You can put him at nickel. You can put him in dime. It's almost like the man can do no wrong. And if I can quote what one of the reporters said on the show, she said, the only rookie thing about Patrick Surtain so far is the fact that he has to ride in the training bus with the other rookies, which to me is just one of the funniest things I've heard in training camp so far.
Are you ready for my hot take? Are you ready for this? Hot take. If Courtland Sutton can return to the field going into the games as the Courtland Sutton of old, I predict both he and Jerry Jeudy are at least top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 wide receivers this season, if not top 5. Oh yeah, you heard me right. Judy's absolutely just murdering it, and the things he's pulling off, the routes he's running, he's putting dudes on skates. They cannot keep up with him.
Mhm.
They're flying right by him, and he's deking him out and faking him out, and they don't know how to answer it. He's this is what we were hoping to see from last year. If he can stay away from his drop issues that he had last season, which if what we've been seeing so far in camp is anything to go off of, those issues are in the past. I mean, granted, I'm going to knock on wood again and throw some salt over my shoulder. I don't have salt with me, but I'm going to pretend. If he can stay away from those drops, which I believe he's finally past that, he is going to be an animal in this league, and people are going to be in there. And if court can get back to court, the court we know, dude, they're not going to know who to double team.
Right.
And it's just going to set this offense on fire. So,
another guy who on the offense who had a really good day today was Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our good friend Pookie, who, I mean, the man is a pinball, just bouncing in between the tackles, spitting. It's like watching a real live version of Madden, because
I thought about that.
I'm telling you, because if you've ever seen me live stream Madden, what I do with the running back, where I just spin and spin.
I was gonna say, you're that guy. You're the spinner.
Yeah, I'm the spinner. That's exactly what I saw in Javonte Williams.
Your running back looks like a ballerina out there, just So
when I was watching that, I'm like, I want to see something from Melvin Gordon, because there's no way Melvin Gordon is not watching that and thinking, damn, that's what I'm up against. I got to try to beat that. So,
and like, that's the thing too. Like, Melvin talked about it. Like, I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say he was making excuses or nothing, but Melvin talked about how Philip Lindsay got in his head last season, and that was probably partly responsible for some of his issues. Now, granted, he had a decent season. I mean, aside from the fumbles, and aside from the fact that he was only like 14 yards short of breaking 1,000, he did have some issues. But I mean, he's sitting here talking about how like Lindsay got in his head, but he's past that. But then to get out there and have Pokey Williams doing what he's doing, it's got to get in your head a little bit too.
Yeah,
just a tidbit.
Yeah, I mean, I really honestly don't see the Broncos paying him another $16 million, even if he does have 1,000-yard season, because he was more of an Elway prospect than a George Payton prospect. So unless he works a deal out where he's like, hey, kind of like what they did with Kareem Jackson, where they don't sign him, they let him test the market, and if the Gordon doesn't get any buyers for $16 million, then he can come back, and maybe not for that much, but like on a much cheaper friendly deal.
Maybe, but he's not going to do it. If history is anything to go off of, he's not. Okay, here's how I look at it. Right now, both Javonte Williams and Mike Boone are having a phenomenal camp. Like, I don't know if you've seen any clips of Mike Boone, but he's making waves too, man.
Yeah.
So with both of them doing what they're doing, I do not predict that Melvin Gordon will be back after this season. And not because he's not a good running back. He is. But you got to look at it there's two things here. But one, he's older. He's aging. He's 8 years in the league now?
I believe so, yeah.
You do not age well at running back. In fact, it's probably the position where you age the worst. And, so you do not age well at running back. And two, his price tag is huge. If you can get the same kind of production out of Mike Boone and Javonte Williams for the price tag you're paying for Melvin Gordon, you're going to cut him. And on top of it, we have seen it in the past. He really doesn't have any kind of true loyalty to the Broncos organization. I mean, he's here, he's getting paid, he's playing for us, and that's great. We like it because he's a good player. But as far as loyalty to the organization goes, it pretty well is non-existent for him because, let's be honest, he spent 7 years of his career in LA. I almost said San Diego with the Chargers. Okay, and he would not even willingly take a small pay cut for them. Like, they asked, they tried, and he said nope. So they cut him, and we got him. That's great for us at the time. But if he's not going to take a small pay cut in order to, help out the team that drafted him and that he's been with for 7 years, what makes anybody think he's going to be willing to take a pay cut from us? He's not. I seriously doubt it. So Mile High Prophet says, good night, Broncos country. Got to sign off. I'll be posting on Twitter from Canton starting tomorrow evening. I look forward to it, Prophet.
Likewise. Safe travels to you, good sir.
Yeah. Let me see here. Judy is on EJ. Judy is on fire in camp thus far. Hopefully he brings it when the season starts. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, brother.
Between him and KJ Hamler, who's having a really good start to the camp as well, and they're not, and the offensive front office is not pushing him as hard as he probably could play because they don't want him to re-aggravate that hamstring. But the fact that he's able to still be as dangerous and fast as he could be, even if they weren't playing him so restrictively, is just flat out amazing.
It's true.
And it's going to give defenses a lot to worry about if they ever want to try to double coverage either Judy or Sutton.
I would say these teams are going to have to keep their head on a swivel, but I don't think there's a swivel that moves fast enough to be able to keep up with him.
Exactly.
That's going to be a swivel on ball bearings, oiled with blue whale oil that NASA designed for, deep space missions or something. Is the only swivel that's going to exist that's going to get, people are going to be able to keep up with Jerry Jeudy if he continues doing what he's doing. Yeah. Mile High Prophet did say Surtain would have had a cornerback blitz sack today against Locke if real game right up the middle. So that'd be amazing. I mean, look, a lot of people, one thing, I don't know if you feel this way, Adon, but every time someone brings up quarterback competition, this is another reason I hate quarterback competition with a passion. They bring up the quarterback competition and it becomes, every move becomes about how badly the quarterback did this, right? But so often they forget to stop and say, maybe the quarterback didn't do that bad. Maybe the secondary is just that good. And that's what you want to see too. I want to see good progress and I want to see good quarterback play, but I also want to see that my secondary is shutting it down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening. And when these things are happening, that's what's happening. Justin Simmons picks off Drew Lock. Wow. Justin Simmons picked the number one safety in the league. My safety on my team just picked off the quarterback. What can I expect from him this season? Same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome to see good quarterback play, but I get just as excited when I see good secondary play, which looks bad on the quarterback. You got to look at it that way. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. When the quarterback makes a great play, guess what? That means the secondary busted, right? They didn't defend the pass. Quarterback got in, slipped it into the corner of the end zone to KJ, Drew Lock slipped into the corner of the end zone to KJ Hamler for a touchdown. Guess what? Whoever, Ronald Darby just busted his coverage because he didn't break up the pass. He didn't intercept it, and it's a touchdown. During camp right now, yes, it's exciting, but we got to look at it like when one's doing great, the other one's not doing so, look at it that way. They're both doing good things. And granted, in a game scenario, that's different. I'm not sitting here going, yeah, man, did you see the Raiders secondary? No. But in
garbage.
In camp? Yeah, do they even have a secondary?
Oh snap!
But so let's see. Anybody know Prophet's Twitter handle? I believe it's just Mile High Prophet, is it not?
Yeah, I believe it's all one word.
I think it's one word, Mile High Prophet, Dave.
You could search for it on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure it'll pop up because I think that's how I found him initially.
EJ, let's pray for KJ's Hamler string to be good at the start of the season. Oh, agreed.
And not just for his hamstring, but for Chubb's knee or ankle, for Vontae.
Oh, for all of them, man.
For everybody.
I want to see them all healthy. I want Mike Purcell to be good. I want, another thing we didn't talk about, Josie Jewell out for today, right?
Yeah.
He's out right now with, I think, a groin strain.
Yeah, groin strain for about a couple weeks.
Yeah, which means that Justin Sternad is currently getting some awesome reps with, alongside AJ Johnson.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing, he's having a great camp too.
Yeah, Darby, who you mentioned earlier, was not on the field today. I don't believe.
I
didn't
don't
see
believe
his
he was.
name.
I believe you're right.
And Kyle Fuller also wasn't on the field.
Lonnie says, in reference to Surtain, he's a Swiss Army knife. The rest of the rookies are Salvation Army knives. Oh, you know how much I love a good dad joke.
I felt that was more of an Army joke.
Well, Salvation Army. I mean, they got their army of bell ringing Santa Claus. You don't want to mess with those guys, but.
But one thing that I also wanted a good talking point that I also heard the guys talking about, Johnny, is pretty much the return of preseason games, which is something that the players last year opted out of. And you know what? Before the pandemic, I was on that train where I always felt that preseason games weren't necessary, and I always knew why they happened. But I never really watched them. I didn't care for them. But as I started to kind of,
because they're not as exciting.
Yeah, they're not as exciting because obviously your star players aren't playing. But as I kind of started to dive into it a little deeper and I started to see the real meaning behind it, I started to understand and respect it a lot better.
Very necessary.
Yeah. Now, the point that Terrell Davis made today was the fact that the Bucs going into last season with no preseason games and bringing in a quarterback who has been called the GOAT and coming in and just learning a whole new offense and everything and going on the season and winning a Super Bowl, that shouldn't really recommend the need to bring preseason games back, even at a number 3. So to that, I disagree, because I always felt that going forward, after when I changed my opinion about preseason games, mind you, that they're really necessary, not just for the starters, but for the rookies to kind of see, how you build your depth. And it's just, it needs to happen.
Look at it this way, right? You talked about the rookies just for a second. So look at it this way, right? In college, a rookie, a player's the best team a player ever played against in college is the worst team they're ever going to play in the NFL as far as skill goes. It's even the worst team in the NFL is better than that best college team they ever played as far as what they can do.
Right.
All right. So, they go through camp. They have all these practices. They have OTAs. They have a mandatory mini camp. They have, a rookie mini camp. They have all this stuff, right, leading up. But in all of that, quarterbacks aren't taking hits. Secondaries aren't truly fully tackling wide receivers. They don't get a true feel for what that game's going to feel like against these caliber of players until they get a preseason game under their belt. Because even then, even though they, some of these guys will try to lay off a little bit leading it up to the actual season, they're going to be laying hits and there's going to be real pressures. It changes the dynamic, and they need that, especially leading into the season. Because once they get into that season, it's off for the races. There is no turning back. You can't go back and be like, all right, hey, listen, buddy, you had a bad game today, so I want you to go back to the training facility and focus on your fundamentals. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and one thing that a lot of people have to realize, that while the guys are playing against each other in training camp, they're not necessarily pushing themselves 100%.
And people have been talking about Cortland Sutton, how he looks like he's slow on the field. I said he's holding back. Plain and simple. He's not. Him and his trainers are saying he's ready. He's ready for a real football, but he's not moving. He's holding back on some of his speed, some of his cuts, some of his, because he doesn't want to re-injure it before the season. We don't want a repeat of what happened with Von Miller. Knocking on wood. We don't want to repeat with what happened with Von Miller. 1 week before the regular season, Cortland Sutton decides to give it his absolute 100% and tear inverts his ACL or something. We don't want that. So he looks a little sluggish in camp right now. He's still running good routes. He's still making good moves. And I believe when we come to the regular season, you're going to see Cortland Sutton looking like Cortland Sutton again. So, I mean, preseason games are boring. They are, but you know what? It's football, so I don't care. It's football, and I get to see my boys in the orange and blue. I'm excited about that, but it is boring as far as the game goes because these guys are learning. This is a learning experience. It's practice. It's a practice on TV. It's really what it comes down to. It's a full game style practice. And while it can be boring, it's imperative and it's important. Because the other side of the coin, look at the coaches, right? This is where they take their moments where God help me, our coaches need to figure a few things out, and I hope they do. But this is their time to look at some of their players, right? Like, you know who who Justin Simmons is. You know what Bradley Chubb is, what he's capable of. You know who Von Miller is and what he's capable of. But guys like our rookies, Jonathan Cooper and Caden Stearns, and these guys, they're coming in, and they've shown some good stuff in camp. Actually, from what I'm hearing, Cooper and Stearns, excellent things in camp, and from what I've seen, excellent things in camp so far. So I'm excited to see what these two are capable of.
Second that.
But what I'm saying is, like, they're still new, right? You can only, right now we're carrying like 87 or 86 guys on the roster at the moment.
Around that number, yeah, mid 80s.
Well, in 3 weeks we have to cut that by over 30 players. 30 dudes lose their jobs. I mean, some of them might make the practice squad, and that's all well and good. But the good ones that make the practice squad, we run the risk of losing them to other teams. So these preseason games are a last chance for coaches to look and go, holy crap, I better not let go of Caden Stearns. Or not that we would, we drafted him. But you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys on that field right now that will not be here in 3 to 4 weeks.
Exactly.
And that's their chance to prove themselves and be like, coach, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So.
And the boss has a question for us, Johnny. He says, who has impressed you the most in training camp so
You take this
far?
one first.
You know what? I was actually thinking about it when the boss put it up in the chat. And I'm going to honestly say, I think that Patrick Surtain, in my opinion, has impressed on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, it's probably close a tie between Javonte and Drew Lock. Because so far, and I say Drew Lock, not just because I'm a Drew Lock fan, but because all the mistakes and stuff that we kind of remember Drew doing last season, he's actually working on, and he's actually showing progress.
Progress! We're seeing it.
Yeah, so, and Javonte Williams, I mean, the man is just, he's amazing, and he's just got that going for him as a rookie.
All right. So impressed me thus far. I'm gonna take it a little bit out in another direction because, like, I mean, those ones they're good. They're good dudes, and we know their names, and they're kind of I could say the same ones, but I'm gonna go ahead and I lost you. Where are you?
My camera. I'll be
Stupid
back.
Technology. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say someone that's just impressed me, which I'm not going to say he's impressed me the most, but I'm going to say how he has impressed me and I'm surprised is wide receiver Trinity Benson.
Ooh.
I like what I've been seeing from him. He's got some moves. Is he Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton yet? No, but some of the things he's pulling off, some of the moves he's making, they're impressive, and I can't wait to see more. Now let's flip the coin. We just answered Mundungus's question about who's impressed us so much. What's been your biggest? Who has been most disappointing to you thus far?
Disappointing, I would probably say Bridgewater, just for the simple fact that I would think that he would have, and Pat Shurmur talked about his veteranship and the fact that he's been, around the league and he's learned from so many offensive coordinators. And I've said it so many times on this show that I always thought him coming into Denver against Drew Lock, he would have that advantage of veteranship of knowing, hey, I've been around the block already. I know to do this. I know to do that. That's why I was able to get a big contract out of Carolina last year. And then he comes in and then he has that one bad game He hasn't really done, and I know we keep saying like, oh, each quarterback is winning one day, and that's fine and everything. But for him, if he's going to compete for the starting job like he's doing, it shouldn't be that close.
No,
it shouldn't be that close for him.
It shouldn't be. I mean, that's the thing is, it is. And right now, Drew Lock has a slight from what it appears. So right now, Drew Lock has that slight edge over him right now. But even so, like they've been running neck and neck. And if he was such a pro, if he was so ready to finally break out after 8 years in the league, I mean, granted, he was doing great before he got injured. He was on par, and it was so exciting to see what was gonna happen. And then unfortunately, the poor guy got beat the hell up, and it was bad. It was bad, and he's never bounced back to who he was before. So there's that. I'm gonna say biggest disappointment so far. EJ touched on it in a comment. I'll bring it up in a second. But I was going to say this before he said that. So EJ, just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're on the same page. Tyree Cleveland. Tyree Cleveland has absolutely disappointed me. Going into this offseason, going into camp, I had such high hopes that Tyree Cleveland was going to be the guy that the possible guy to unseat Deontay Spencer for the return game, and at the same time be able to maybe possibly if we were able to get rid of Deontay Spencer and because who pretty much just plays strictly in the return game, put Tyree in and he could be he can fill the role of a wide receiver and a returner. You get more value from the position, from the roster spot. Tyree has looked like absolute hammered crap in this camp.
Yeah, I've been reading a couple. I haven't actually seen the highlights of his play, but I have read articles that said that
he hasn't been able to get any separation. He's blown catchable passes, and he just looks.
Any other team he could probably sneak by.
Maybe, but with this wide receiver room,
but with wide receivers being so valuable or so available,
deep. So deep.
it's easy to get lost in the mix, and he's running out of time.
He is.
A guy like Trinity Benson, who
Tyree Cleveland has had. EJ said it. Tyree Cleveland has had a mad case of the drops in camp.
Yeah,
and Dave Full-Glasserman, my boy Dave, says Tyree is a goner.
If he doesn't shape up, I mean, like I just said, he's running out of time. Preseason games could be his last chance to kind of show the coaches.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
But no, tell him hey, I still got this. Don't give up on me yet.
Thus far, he doesn't, and it has not been pretty. I don't know if Jerry Jeudy and Court and any of the others have gotten in his head or what, but what we were expecting from him, we have not seen at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not good.
I totally agree with you. But I mean, no player so far, even with what we just said about Tyree Cleveland, has reached a level of disappointment where it's like, I want them out now. You
mean Juwan James level?
Yeah, Juwan James level. Without, getting injured. Nobody has reached that low.
Well, maybe for some people Drew Lock has, but I feel like they reached that, a long time ago, and they just hate the guy so much. But beyond that, you're right.
So as of this podcast, mind you, next week we could be talking a whole different story about, hey man, this guy just crapped the bed, man. What the hell's going on?
Lonnie comes in saying, I'm looking forward to the first preseason game versus the Vikings. They seem strong in long passes. I'm ready for some single coverage picks, especially since their rookies are cocky.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't honestly, Lonnie, I haven't honestly watched that much yet of anything Vikings this season. I've been pretty much sticking to my orange lenses there.
Mm-hmm.
But the closer we get to that first game, the preseason game, I'll probably watch some tape. And no, Lonnie, you made a joke, and I'm not reading it. It's so bad, I'm not reading it. I can't do it. I I have to. He has Tyree greasy hands. No, you're done. You're done. You're out.
Everybody only gets one.
You get one bad dad joke, okay?
No, but guys, I mean, I guess what you can take from today's practice was just the fact that with the pads now back on, everybody's starting to kind of get that feel like, okay, now we can really get closer to each other. Now we can really, get helmet to helmet instead of just a,
they better not go helmet to helmet.
Well, I mean, like contact.
Yeah,
maybe not hard hitting, but basically no more just soft touch, because they kind of have to try to get a better feeling of like, okay, we need to work in the the middle, the left, the right, who's coming in from the back, so it's just it needs to be done. What do you call a pile of cats?
I'm afraid to ask what.
I don't think we can say it on the air, boss.
Oh yeah, no, you better keep it clean. But what do you call a pile of cats there, boss? Lord Almighty, Lord God Almighty, guys,
He's gonna let us have it.
That's gonna be it. This is gonna become a new thing here, is dad jokes on Broncos Talk. Oh, good Lord,
a meowton. I mean, it's corny as hell, but it's.
I mean, that's right up there with. Don? Did you hear the one about the broken pencil? I'm not going to tell it to you because there's no point. Anyway. Oh man, that's fun. So anyway, it's been exciting getting to see some training camp. It really has, and I can only. Oh my goodness! Look who has joined us at the 11th hour.
Our good friend Richie. How are you, sir?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Oh, you sound out of breath, buddy. Did you run to the podcast?
I did.
Oh, good.
Hope you saved us some birthday cake, man.
In through the nose. Through the nose, out through the mouth.
I think everyone is glad that I did everything in the right order. Shirt came on before I turned on the camera.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
I made sure you were ready before I brought you in.
Although I'm sure with your what I'm guessing copious amounts of body hair, it looks like you're wearing a shirt anyway all the time. So I'm sure it'd be fine.
They call that the sweater, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Hey,
how was your daughter's birthday?
She is great. Her birthday went well. All that good stuff, and on to the next one. Yeah. Well, my kids' birthdays are 9 days apart.
Okay. Well, I can't say anything because so are mine. Let's see. My oldest is 14 days before my youngest, and then my middle child, he is less than a month later. So yeah, all right there, just stacked.
Wow.
So.
That's one hell of a party at Chuck E. Cheese, huh?
Yeah, we could. Sure. I can't afford the tokens.
Just one pizza and everybody gets one slice.
That's right. You get a pepperoni. Pick it off. Anyway, so Rich. Oh, go ahead, Don. You go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, Rich. Johnny and I were just kind of trying to wrap up what we thought about training camp. We gave our ideas on who we thought was the most impressive so far and who we felt was the least impressive so far. I myself said Patrick Surtain on the defensive side. Offensively, I said Drew Lock and Javonte Williams were a tie. And Johnny brought up Trinity Benson as his pick for most improved.
Just the one
impressive.
I've been wildly impressed by Trinity Benson.
Yeah, Trinity Benson.
I've been pretty impressed with Stearns as well.
Caden Stearns, yes.
Yeah, and I think that there needs to be maybe a little bit more attention thrown his way in terms of what he's done. By all accounts, we're hearing nothing but amazing things from him.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that way.
Who would you say was your least impressive, Rich?
Hang on, just getting the mic boomed around here.
Oh, you sound better now.
Yeah,
much better.
See, here's the thing. My voice carries no matter what, so I can't tell the difference.
I
So
can.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, in the room where I'm at, literally, I can't tell. But
Your tones just weren't quite as dulcet, mister.
thank you. How you doing? Least impressive. I'd actually have to say I expected a lot more out of a guy like Teddy Bridgewater.
That's exactly what Adon said.
That's exactly what I said.
I'm not going to lie. I would have expected a lot more out of Teddy Bridgewater. I thought that he would have had a pretty solid familiarity with the offense with Shermer. I thought he would have been in a better position with his level of experience within the league. And instead, we've basically seen someone who has struggled to keep up with Drew Lock at best. And arguably, Drew Lock has beaten him the vast majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like right now, I feel like we were talking about it earlier. We said is that right now Drew Lock is leading by a narrow margin, but he's still leading, and it's been close, but he's still leading, and Teddy is just not doesn't seem to be stepping up.
If it's close, then Drew has easily won. I mean, at this point here, you should have seen Teddy basically beat out Drew and then force the coaches to say, we are going to choose upside over experience. Instead, we've seen the opposite. We've seen Drew come out and make some of those. I have to give credit where credit's due, right?
Mm-hmm.
By all accounts, from everyone that I've heard from and all the information that I've seen and all that kind of stuff, Drew has taken some of, maybe not all of, some of those steps that we've been talking about in some of our previous pods.
We talked about that earlier as well.
And so, hey, I am happy to say that is exactly what I wanted to see. Now, in my defense, I wanted to see this last year, but it's nice to see that he has taken those steps, and hopefully we continue to see that growth. And if anything, hopefully it gets accelerated.
Agreed.
On the fast track, yeah.
Yeah. Dave Full Glassman says, "Welcome, Rich, with the late surprise." And here comes the boss man with another one for us. Dad joke number 2. This is going to become our new thing, is dad jokes apparently on Broncos Talk. So, dear dad joke number 2: Dear math, grow up and solve your own problems. Oh Lord. So bad.
It would appear that the more kids you have, the worse your sense of humor gets.
I mean, you have several, so
2.
you know, you have several, so you know. I have 3. Mundungus is on 47.
I've kept mine down under the bar, it would seem.
It's I don't know what it is about it. I think you're right though. I think there is a quantifiable correlation between the amount of children you have and how many dad jokes you're able to tell.
It's an inverted line graph where number of kids equals
yeah. I think me and Boggins are the only 2 guys on this network that don't have any kids.
Nope, Isaiah doesn't have any either.
Okay, so Isaiah. So me, Boggins, and Isaiah.
Isaiah dotes upon my children.
But I have a dog who I love like a son. So
there you go. We love dogs too.
We do.
What Mundungus says, "What's your excuse, Rich?" That's awesome. Oh man, it's like time to get out of here though, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, looking at that timer. So since you're here, do you want to take us into the outro there, Rich?
Jeez, that's putting me on the spot.
I can do it. I was prepped and ready for you, buddy.
No, we'll go with you on that one.
All right. So, hey, everybody, it's been an absolute blast. As always, it's a blast always. Because let's just be honest, we get to talk Broncos. It's Broncos Talk. We talk Broncos. Shocking. All right, it's been an absolute blast being with you guys tonight. Huge thanks to Rich for showing up at the 11th hour, so we at least get to see his glorious bearded face. All right. Make sure that if you have not already, you like, subscribe, share, comment. Get us out there, guys. Let's get those subscribes up. Let's end that quest for 1,000. Let's get the shares out to our friends, because that's how you help us grow. Right? Awesome. Please do not miss our other shows. All right. On Thursday night at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, we have the MHRT Podcast with Adon, Mundungus, Glenn, and Mr. Boggins. It's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. Please do not miss it. Then you've got myself and Isaiah on Sunday with the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast at 6543 for now. That's changing soon, but I will let you know when that happens. At 6543 on Sunday evenings on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, Isaiah and I do Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. Please, guys, do not just have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your time with the training camp, especially now that we've got pads on. We're going to start seeing some more exciting stuff coming out. Tomorrow, do not miss the Hall of Fame ceremonies for coming live from Canton. It's kind of another part of the season where it helps us to remember, wow, we are this close to football.
Yep.
And let's watch over the next couple of days. Let's watch our 3 members of Broncos country get their gold jackets that are more than well deserved.
Agreed.
So it has been a blast with you guys. I love you guys. We love you, Broncos country, and we cannot wait to see you again soon. We will see you on Thursday for the MHRT podcast at 7654. Thank you, Broncos country. Oh, and we got to do
I was about to say.
Right?
You're trying to get us canceled? What the hell?
Well, I'm sorry. I can't believe I almost forgot it again, considering it's mine. But so, all right, let's get ready to do this mile high five. You guys ready? Oh,
wait, before you do it.
Yeah.
For those guys that are watching this live, if you've never done the mile high five, all you do is hold your hands out, and as soon as Johnny says mile high five, you just clap them up in the air. It's that simple.
Yep.
All right.
And I do it loud. I do it loud because that's how this goes.
Loud and
all right,
proud.
You guys ready for this? Here we go. Mile high five! Woo! That's right. Thank you, Broncos country, and good night.
Good night, Broncos.